Hello and welcome back to the wrap up where I am Oren. I'm joined by Adon, and we are back a day later to finish up all the over-unders for the Western Conference in this episode. Adon, how you feeling about our last episode now that you've had some time to reflect?
I'm actually feeling better, stronger. I think it verified my NBA acumen. The number of times I convinced you, I'm feeling like I'm somehow winning, even though this isn't at all a competition. And I'm
It
looking forward to
is.
the end of the year to validate all that I'm feeling right now.
Okay, my takeaways were that I say like too much when I do
Mm.
these things, and also that I was too serious. See, I didn't think about validating my NBA acumen. I think I'm going into this one a lot more lighthearted, a lot more. I'm just gonna pick teams based off feel, vibes, uh, maybe like you know that kind of stuff, rather than diving deep into the
Well, I mean, yes and
statistical.
no.
I'm not Brian Windhorse, you know.
Well,
I'm here to have fun. I'm
no
here to
one
have fun.
wants to be Brian Windhorst.
I
Let's
don't talk
let's
about
be
the
clear.
NBA.
But people want to know, like, with certainty whether they should, s- choose an over or an under. So, and
Yeah.
intuition's part of it. I respect that, but
Yeah.
it, you know,
No, of
nice balance.
course.
I think you
Of
can be
course.
jovial and still be accurate. Maybe lighten your voice a little bit, a little giggle.
That's the
There you
goal
go.
for
See,
sure.
there you
The
go.
goal the goal is definitely to do both, and I'm gonna try to find that balance a little better this time because I felt like I was awfully serious last episode.
Okay.
And part of that was like we had to rush it. It is so many teams that you
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you start to get rushed as you go on here, and we're gonna do 15 Western Conference teams here. Um,
What are we
I'm
doing? Why
looking
don't you
forward to it.
tell the people what we're doing, if in case
Okay,
they're
yeah,
starting
so
with the Western Conference?
right. If you didn't listen to our other podcasts slash YouTube videos, we're going through all NBA teams, and we are predicting either over or under on what Vegas predicts their win total to be next season. We're gonna say their additions in the offseason, subtractions, questions. We're gonna say how many wins Vegas predicts, and then we're gonna pick if we're gonna take the over or the under on that. And it's just a fun way to kind of run through the league. So yeah, we'll start with the Northwest Division, which as a reminder is Denver, Minnesota, Portland, Utah, and Oklahoma
Oklahoma.
City. So let's start with the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets. Okay, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Denver Nuggets went 48 and 34 last season despite being without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. played the beginning of the year or not at all? I don't
Yeah,
know.
he played a bit. He played a
He
bit,
played a
but
bit.
then not
Okay,
long.
additions. They added Bruce Brown. Nice free agency signing. DeAndre Jordan. Okay. Contavious Caldwell Pope via trade. Ish Smith via the same trade. Christian Braun in the draft. Peyton Watson in the draft. They lost Monte Morris and Will Barton with that trade to Washington. They lost JaMychal Green.
For
Traded
nothing.
Austin Rivers, they lost, and Bryn Forbes, they lost. So the
They,
questions I have, yeah,
I was gonna say they also lost their general manager.
yeah, but who cares, man? You
I
think I'm
mean,
gonna include that in
saying
like
it's a
their
big deal.
win total? Is it a big deal for their win total this year, though? Not really.
Maybe for that
Uh,
midseason
we
acquisition, I don't know.
we don't do what's it called? What was that thing when it was like, would you rather have? Oh yeah, that was Brad Stevens or Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was like a Bill
Oh
Simmons
my
thing.
God, what a
Anyways,
time!
so to me, the questions are really simple, and it's mostly like, how does Murray look? How does MPJ look returning for injury? And how does that all mesh together? How quickly, really, does that all mesh together with the new free agency signings, with Nikola Jokic now being, the last time all three of these core guys played together, Jokic wasn't this dominant scorer, number one option type of guy. And since then, he's had to develop into a back-to-back MVP. Like, he's had to take on all of the scoring load for this team. So I'm curious how they find that balance again. And yeah, over under is 49.5. What are your thoughts?
There was a moment where the question was, is this Jokic's team or Murray's team? And that's just no longer the case. And even I think if Murray hadn't have blown out his knee, it wouldn't have been the case. Um, I love this team. I think I they don't really have a hole. They filled it by getting Caldwell Pope, that shooting guard that can spread the floor. They're fairly deep. I think their one kind of question mark is backup center because it's DeAndre Jordan. I like Zeke Nagy,
Yeah.
but I've heard that he's not really the center guy that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Um,
Jeff
I
Green, I think, can play backup center.
Yeah, I like their small ball lineups are pretty fun. I mean, hell, Michael Porter Jr. could play center for a while if they needed to. It wouldn't be great defensively, but whatever. The question marks are certainly health. Jokic is a monster. I think when we're coming to the win-loss totals, they've talked about Jokic being too tired in the playoffs. Part of that now will be with Murray and Porter back, the offensive load will, balance out. But part of it also might be that they'll reduce Jokic's minutes. That being said, it's only one game more that they have to win here to get
Hmm.
to the over, and they have a borderline all-star and a most improved player candidate returning from injury. To me, there's no reason why they shouldn't be a 50-win team. Their division got weaker, I want to say. Well, Minnesota got better, Utah got much worse, Portland got better, and Oklahoma sucks. So I think there's no reason here that they can't get to that 50-win mark.
Yeah, division doesn't really matter as much as conference does, right? Like,
You got more games in
no,
division, don't you?
no, you don't. You
I thought you did.
play each conference opponent 4 times and each other conference 2 times. Unless I'm really dumb, I'm like 99% sure that's
Okay.
how it goes.
Well then whatever.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think the West has gotten better, but I'm really high on this team, especially as a playoff team. Like, you make a good point about Jokic. Maybe they're gonna ease his load a little bit in preparation for the playoffs, but you can do that in other ways besides minutes. Like, it can be an easing of the load just in terms of like his usage, which I think is naturally gonna happen. I think this team has a real chance to win the chip next year.
Yep.
I think they're all in. Like, they're
Yep.
as a trade deadline team, I think they're going to be looking to make some noise. And yeah, I think like 50 wins is around where they're going to finish in the regular season. I'm more high on them as a playoff team because I think it's going to take time for Murray and Porter to like get going. But I'll take the over with some confidence here.
Yep. I, yeah.
Jokic is just that good. Like, just like I took the Milwaukee over. I just.
Yeah, he's going to will them to wins, and he did last year time and again. I really think KCP fills the missing piece for this team as far, at least on the starting five goes. Another underrated injury was Kankar. Like I think he can maybe produce. So yeah, they have what it takes to make our deep run
Wait,
here.
where's Compazzo? He's still on this team, right?
He should be.
They're just disrespecting him on lineups.com. I think Compazzo's still on this team. All right, that's
He's
great.
playing. Is he playing Thursday? He is playing
Yeah,
Thursday
he
against
is
Canada,
playing
isn't he?
Thursday. Yeah, he's the only NBA player on Argentina, but it's gonna be a good game. Um, let's move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, Minnesota. Here's their. They added this was the splashiest team of the offseason. They added Rudy Gobert. They added Kyle Anderson via free agency, Austin Rivers, Bryn Forbes, and Wendell Moore. They drafted. They lost Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, Leandro Balmaro, who was kind of drafted and then lost, Jared Vanderbilt, and then a bunch of picks. They won 46 games last season, and their over under is pegged at 47.5. I guess the biggest question mark, I wrote down two. One is, how do Gobert and Towns fit together? I think that's the huge question that
Mm-hmm.
everyone is curious about. Towns now being like a permanent four. How does that fit beside Gobert? And then does Ant take another step forward? Was my other one. Like, he had a really good end to the season, good playoffs. But do we see him just becoming like an all NBA guy next season? So those are the question marks. Where are you on the Minnesota Timberwolves?
And of course, you forgot the major addition of Tim Connolly, who
Yeah,
who
trust
was
me.
the
I
former
also
Denver
deleted
Denver
that.
Nuggets general manager.
I also this site that I use for additions and subtractions had all these things, but I'm just not. I
Well, I
just
just had
don't
to
care
close the
about
loop from
front
yeah.
office.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. This is a very tricky team. Um, the one there's just so much up in the air. I do think this team
Sorry, we
has.
should say starting fives. We forgot
Oh
already.
man, we're so bad at that. Okay, I'll run it down. It's D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. Um, so the questions are voluminous. I don't know about D'Angelo Russell. I'm a little worried about McDaniels, although he did show a lot of promise. But as a starting three, um, I don't know how much offense you're going to get from that position. The Twin Towers thing up in the air, and then like you said, Ant. I think Ant's growth is the difference between this team being like 43 wins, 44 wins, and like 52. Like that. There's a big um, window there of opportunity. I do think, though, that this is going to be a regular season win hunting team. Like
Hmm.
they're not in a position where they're trying to, figure things out. We're more worried about the postseason, blah, blah, blah. They want to prove themselves. The majority of them are young. Their bench is youngish. But regardless, I think this team's going to try and grab wins as they can. So I don't know if we said the over under, it's 47 and a half. I'm going very slightly over here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean the same way. They won 46 games last year. Um, and they lost a lot of guys in the Rudy trade, like a lot of key depth pieces, but I'm still looking at their depth chart and it's not bad at all. Uh, I like Torian Prince, I like Austin Rivers, Bryn Forbes, Pascal maybe can play, Noel can play. Like they got
Kyle
some decent
Anderson is a good bench player.
for sure, for sure. They have decent depth, and I think they have a good coach who got them going as the season went along last year, and it's kind of similar with the Raptors core where now this is year 2 of this core being together with this coach, and I just think they're going to continue to build off the building blocks that they established. I think Townsend and Gobert will fit at least as a regular season team. Like again, smart players will figure it out. As a playoff team, that's a different thing.
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sure if they can play the two of them together. Um, yeah, we'll see. But as
Well,
a regular season team, whenever you have this recipe, it's a similar to the recipe that Utah had, which is like Gobert is your defense and then you have Russell and Edwards and Towns,
oh
which is
yeah.
different than Utah, like as your offensive hubs. I really like that mix. So yeah, I'll take the over as
Are you
well.
talking about Utah or are you talking about Utah Watanabe?
I'm talking about Utah, but I have some weird phonetic things.
Utah. Um,
Yeah,
Yeah, as an
yeah,
aside, the most improved player award is broken if John Morant's winning it in his third year. But
yeah.
that with
Edwards is
that
gonna win
said,
it.
what's that?
Edwards is gonna win it.
Exactly. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's the favorite, but I would take a look at those odds if you're doing that kind of thing. Also, I kind of feel like Minnesota might be a sneaky division winner if Denver does run into some health issues. I could see these.
I was just gonna ask that question. Yeah. Who would
Like I
you
think
pick
it
between those two
honestly, if,
teams?
if Edwards becomes a 25 point scorer, like if he's 25 and 5, like this team is going to be really hard to handle in the regular season at the very least. They should have really beaten Memphis in the playoffs. And I think they've only gotten better. I agree with you. Their losses, like losing Vanderbilt specifically is tough and Beverly defensively, but
Yeah.
um Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think honestly I would pick them to win the division because like we kind of just talked about, like Denver is going to slow play the regular season. They're going to ease these guys back from injuries. They're not going to play back to backs, all that sort of stuff. And I think Minnesota is going to go full throttle. So I think that's a good bet to win the
Yeah.
division. Moving on, Portland Trailblazers. I think this is a really interesting team.
Me too.
So they went 24 and 58 last season. Obviously, terrible season. Dame was injured for most of it. They added, sorry, 27 and 55. I was looking at OKC. They added Jeremy Grant, Gary Payton, Shaden Sharp in the draft, Israel Kamagate in the draft, Jabari Walker. They lost Joe Ingles, who apparently was a Portland Trailblazer.
Yeah, he
Eric,
got that Nah trade.
okay, right. Eric Bledsoe, and that's pretty much it. So the questions is, where is Dame? I think Dame's super underrated. You know, like prior to last season, he finished top 5 in MVP like 3 years running, I think. Something like he's been that guy. So
Hmm.
if Dame is back to being a top 5 MVP guy, then this team is going to win a lot of games. If that injury was the start of some old age problems and this is now a downhill climb, then that's a different thing. Sharp, is he ready to contribute at all? He got injured like first game of summer league, so we didn't really get to see him at all, but he's this really raw Canadian who is basically the mystery man of the draft, hasn't played competitive basketball in 2 years. And then smaller questions, is Simons ready to take another leap? Is Nurkic washed up? Even though he's not that old, I kind of think he's washed up. So where are you at with them?
Yeah, I actually really like this team. I think that there's at plus 1,000 for the division. They're spicy. Their over under is 40 and a half games. The starting lineup, you basically went through it, is Yusuf Nurkic, Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart, Anthony Simons, and Dame Lillard. I really like this team. I think I they're I think they're deeper than most. And I like their mix of youth and veterans. I think Josh Hart could make a leap. Anthony Simons has made a leap and could continue. Keon Johnson has potential. I think Nasir Little is going to have another like growth in his game. I'm still on Justice Winslow Island, and so I believe in Dame. Like you said, the injury thing could be an issue. Like I don't know if he's at his full capacity or not, but this is really his year. I mean, he's running out of opportunities. They finally made the quote unquote splash, bringing in Jeremy Grant. Um, so yeah, I think 40 and a half is very low for this team personally. And I think it's an easy over. I do think Nurkic is a major liability. And they they're just not, with him in the lineup, they're not versatile enough to play different kinds of teams. He's just too slow-footed. That being said, he's a full year removed from that bad injury. And so like we might see the Nurkic of old, who's a little bit more limber and more of a playmaker than he has been. So
Yeah. I'm torn. I'm definitely lower on them than you. I don't think it's an easy over at all. I don't like the depth as much as you do. I think the center depth is especially worrisome. Drew Eubanks is their backup center, and the Raptors like waived him, didn't even want to bring him in, see what he could do. Like, he had some okay time on the Spurs, but he's not who you really want to have on a good team as your backup center. I don't like the depth that much. I
small ball
don't
five with
like
Jeremy Grant, baby.
that's so small though with who they have around him, and especially that backcourt of Lillard and Simons. Like that's a worse defensive backcourt than Lillard and McCollum, which was a bad defensive backcourt. So I just don't trust the defense. Now, if Lillard is an MVP candidate, then you can outscore teams even if you have a bad defense. But I kind of don't really. I don't know if I see that happening.
The
But
small
40
ball
is pretty low at the
The
same
small ball
time.
five, though, you're bringing in Peyton and Little, right? Like that's their secondary lineup. And then so maybe
Yeah.
you're taking Simons off and you have
I
Josh Hart.
think
So
Simons might have to come off the bench, honestly, like
yeah,
permanently
it might make more sense
for
to have
Peyton.
Peyton and Lillard together and then have
Yes.
Simons coming off with Little. Like the two of them really looked good last year. I just think for that if you get the over, you're saying they're 500.
Yes.
Like
But
that shouldn't be that hard to do for them, assuming health.
I think I'm going to take the under
Okay.
because I think all of these things that we're saying are things that they're going to have to figure out. And I think next year I could see this team being pretty good. But this is such a new team when I look at it. Like this is so different than the Blazers teams with CJ and Lillard. Like other than Nurkic and Lillard, everyone on the roster has been turned over, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
Little.
the biggest difference is they have two legitimate wings
Yeah,
and
I get
and
it.
Grant being like a quasi wing. They never had that in the closest they came to
You're
that
right.
was Harkless and Aminu. Like they've
Yeah,
never had that kind of diversity at that position.
I think you're right. I just think they need some time to figure out exactly how it's going to work. I don't think it's just going to click right away.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably going to have to bring in a couple more pieces. Like I think I don't love the playmaking of this team like all across the board. I don't think there's enough, especially like Lillard is not this elite playmaker. He's more of a shot maker. So Simons again is another guy who looks for his own shot. I don't love the playmaking. I don't love the defense. So I think this is a team that in next season could actually be really good, especially if Sharp kind of comes along. But this season, I just think they're going to go through growing pains. So I'll take
Are
the
you
under.
are you trading two firsts, Simons, Sharp, and Grant for Kevin Durant?
Kevin Durant's off the table, man.
Are you doing it though? Like I thought Portland was really going to get in the mix.
Two firsts, Simons and Sharp. Yeah,
And Grant and Jeremy Grant.
yeah, sure.
That's not enough.
Yeah, it's
Not
not
enough
going to
for
be
Brooklyn.
enough. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
but yeah, I would do that. All right, moving on. So I think the last team in this conference
Second
is the
last.
Oklahoma City Thunder. So did you see the
We still
news
have
that
Utah. We still have Utah.
No, we oh, you're right. Did you see the news about OKC today that
No.
Shams just said?
No, I don't follow the
I
news of
will
OKC.
share my screen. So, bad news because I was going to pick the over for sure. Chet has a torn ligament in his foot.
Damn.
I saw that the long timetable for a torn ligament is 6 to 8 months, like worst case scenario. So he could miss the season.
My
Uh,
goodness.
Now people are talking about how pro-ams are not going to be allowed for NBA players because he was playing in some and now he's injured. So, anyways, I'll read
We'll
what
get to that.
OKC did. They
We'll get to
added
that.
Chet Holmgren, they added Jalen Williams in the draft, they added the other Jalen Williams in the draft, and Usman Dieng in the draft. Am I missing someone in the draft? No. Okay, they traded for Usman Dieng. And then they lost Jermichael Green and Isaiah Roby. Questions. Do they tank or do they try to
Everything.
win games? That's like my big question. Like, does Presti pull Shea again, or does he let him play until the end of the season? Other questions are: is Chet ready for the NBA? I guess that's an even bigger question mark now. And does SGA take another leap? Was my last question, which might not even be a fair question. It might actually be: are the guys around SGA ready to play competitive basketball? So their over under is 26.5. They won 24 games last year. To me, two more wins, considering the upgrades, is a pretty easy yes. Where are you at?
God, that's so tragic. Also, it's his feet and big men and feet. Like
Yeah.
I have the number one pick in my dynasty. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Um, SGA, this
Dynasty, don't take him for your dynasty.
you don't think so? No, no, I already have a team. Like, where do we do the draft? So it's like
Oh,
Paolo or Chet.
oh, it's only new players. I see.
Yeah. Um, God, SGA on this team too is just such a tragedy.
So
Uh,
tragic. Oh, brother, tell me about it. Get him
I
out of there.
I don't with Holmgren out, I very don't like this team. Um, I don't see a lot of potential of leaps. Like I think Dort is kind of who he is. SGA will get better, but how much that he's going to impact winning with this team. Josh Giddey, I guess, is the guy that you're looking at to really blossom, and that could happen. But even if he does, I don't know that that actually changes the number of wins. And I do think also that this is another tankathon now that Holmgren's definitely out.
But he could miss a couple months and that's it. Like that's a real
That's
possibility.
enough. If you go like I don't know what 9 and 27 in that period, like
Yeah.
that's tankathon, baby.
Jalen Williams, I'll say, also looked really good in summer league. The first Jalen Williams, the
Yeah,
wing.
the wing Jalen Williams. The other
Yeah.
one did not.
No, what about Poku? Where are you on Poku?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm low on Poku. I think he sucks.
I,
But
I will. I said this earlier. I've fantasized over a Holmgren, Dieng, Poku, Josh Giddey lineup and SGA.
yeah,
That's four dudes that are like 6'9" that all want to handle the ball and play make.
yeah.
Alas, we won't see that.
I think Shea is gonna make his first All-Star team this year, coming off Team Canada summer where
Hmm.
he's looked great. He's gonna take Nurse's coaching. He's gonna keep that riding right into the season and look like his best self. And I think he's gonna will them to at least 27 wins. Like, I don't think that's a hard mark to get to, even if they pull him at the end of the year. I just think, I was impressed with just the way their organization and the competitiveness they play with
Yeah,
last season, even
yeah.
though, yeah, like even though they're super young and developing and tanking in those ways, they're still going out there and trying to win games with the roster they have. And it would be devastating if Chet missed a big portion of the season, but hey, you still have Derek Favors, you have Mike Muscala, like you can forge something together of a
Hey,
center rotation.
hey, there's something to be optimistic for.
I'm
Um,
taking the over.
we also didn't say the starting lineup would probably be now Derek Favors, Darius Baisley, Dort, SGA, and Giddy.
Oh, sorry.
Trey Mann's another guy who could pop. Wiggins is not a bad player, but the thing is when you are trying to choose an over and under, you have to think about the very possible fact that
The
Presti is
vibes.
going to
Yeah.
dress or sit everybody, and that could happen much sooner than later for this team than any other. And so I'm hanging on to the Presti ball, and I'm going
I,
under.
I don't think he can do that though. I don't think he can tell Shea like, "Hey buddy, you're out."
He did it. He's done it twice already.
Exactly. And I think at a certain point, it's like, look, I'm here to win games. I did this for you so you could get this second overall pick in chat. I'm not going to just keep doing it again and again. I think like there is a balance there where he's done it already twice and I don't think he can just keep doing it with guys like Shea and Giddy. But we'll
I
see.
trust me. I hope you're right. And they just re-signed Dort too, but maybe that's just to have a contract to trade. I really hope you're right. I want to see SGA blossom. History tells us that this team's not strong enough for it not to be a possibility. So,
Yeah,
and I got to go
that's true.
under. The West also got stronger. Almost everybody got stronger, but Oklahoma. So,
Yeah,
um, I got to go
true.
under with somebody.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up this Northwest division with the Utah Jazz. They added, they won 49 games last year. Obviously, a different team. They added Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, Leandro Balmaro via the draft, Jared Vanderbilt, Walker Kessler. Yep. They hired coach Will Hardy from the Boston Celtics. They lost Rudy Gobert and Royce O'Neal and Juancho Hernan Gomez, and Quinn Snyder resigned. So The question marks are basically, do they trade Mitchell? Do they trade Bogdanovich and Conley? Do they tank, essentially?
Who's their starting lineup?
Their starting lineup is Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovich, Jared Vanderbilt, and Azubuike,
Azubuike.
I
Azubuike.
guess.
Azubuike.
Yeah. Okay.
Oof.
Not a great center depth here, but yeah.
I don't
I,
know.
I
Is Azubuike not as good as Derek Favors? No, he's
I
not.
don't
You're right.
I
You're
don't
right.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. We're not having that discussion right now. Okay. I'm taking the under. Easy
Yeah.
peasy here.
Same.
This team is there's still the crumbs of utter disappointment from the last 5 years, and I feel like it's infected the whole team. And until they ship out all of the legacy pieces, other than Mitchell, if they want to build around him, fine. This
Mhm.
team is just kind of doomed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think even if they keep Mitchell, which I could see, they're gonna trade Bogdanovich and Conley and Gay and Beasley. They're gonna try to trade all these veterans, and I could see them telling Mitchell, "Hey, we're gonna sit you for the rest of the season. We're
SGA
gonna try to
treatment.
get the number one pick." Yeah, if they do hold on to Mitchell, but and the rest of those guys will be gone. So not much to
Yeah,
say about Jazz. We're both taking the under.
yeah.
Uh, they pretty clearly want to tank at least 1 or 2 years and get some picks. So
Just to add more words to our podcast, any predictions on trades of these veterans? Toronto
oh,
related at
like
least?
where they're going,
Yeah,
Bogdanovich could definitely work in Toronto. Um, but yeah, you know what? I could see him being a target at the deadline for the Raptors.
yeah. I think
I've also
money might be an
seen
issue,
the
but
Mike Conley Bogdanovich to the Lakers for Russell Westbrook deal, like
ooh,
sending
juicy.
picks obviously their way. I think just in terms of the money, I'm pretty sure that matches up. No, sorry, it might be Patrick Beverly and McDonovich. Not exactly
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be
Uh,
juicy. I like that.
yeah, I
Patrick
like that
Beverly with
too.
LeBron would be so funny.
Yeah.
LeBron would be like rolling on the floor like he got shot in the head, and Beverly would be like yelling at the refs. Like they'll just be a dynamic duo.
Too annoying to watch. Too
Yeah.
annoying to watch. All right, let's wrap up this Northwest Division. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're gonna do the Pacific Division next. So head on back to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel and we'll get that going there. To our podcast listeners, as Aiden said last time, hi.